Ladies and gentlemen, RosterWatch Nation, welcome back to the epic RosterWatch Podcast, brought to you by RosterWatch.com and by Jock Market, where you can download the Jock Market app in the App Store right now, jockmkt.com as well. Use promo code RosterWatch for a 100% deposit bonus with your first deposit. Again, at Jock Market. You can find the app Jock MKT in the App Store and at jockmkt.com. All right, Trash Man, it's the Week 6 waiver edition of the pod. I hope you didn't go to bed last night thinking you'd won your fantasy matchup facing a bunch of Ravens.
On one of my leagues, in my big money league, man, Jonathan Taylor just came back and
JT too. Me. Oh, so you ended up taking an L in that league?
Yeah, I was up by 20 something.
That's tough, man. That's tough when you got JT going against you like that in a 10K buy-in. Let's go. Let's talk about the cheat sheet. Let's just any general overall thoughts about waivers this week, and hello to the people in the chat. Hello to the people on the YouTube stream. If you have questions, put them in the chat, and we'll get to them. Especially if you have questions about who you should be dropping this week for some of these pickups. But Trash Man, I think I'm not going to go too overboard as far as
there's nobody you're going to break the bank for this week.
Okay, so we'll start at the top here with the running backs. Of course, you can find the waiver wire cheat sheet at RosterWatch.com. It has Trash Man's free agent budget bid recommendations. But spoiler alert, I don't think we're going any higher than 10 to 15% on any of these guys this week. But we do need to talk about them. It looked like Clyde Edwards-Helaire was hurt during the Sunday night game. But boy, Trash Man, can you believe now Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen have all beaten Patrick Mahomes this year?
I mean, yeah, I can believe it. I mean, they have good teams.
Do you think that Patrick
teams with better defenses?
Do you think that Patrick Mahomes is still just like a total lock as the QB1 and dynasty?
No.
Yeah,
I mean, there's an argument for right? Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson.
I've been thinking about what I want Justin Herbert just straight up over Mahomes in dynasty right now. It's a wild thing to think about, but anyway, I think that probably I was still leaning Mahomes for now. Regardless, it's Daryl Williams who we need to just kind of discuss. Where are you on
to some extent, Jerick McKinnon?
Well, can you just talk about what you think about that? I'm going to get the snap counts, targets, and touches tool pulled up just to see how these guys look. I also made sure to get the matchup tool up for you guys over at Roster Watch. I got it up today, so people asked about getting it up in time for waivers, so I went ahead and did that this morning. As I'm pulling that up, Trash Man, just talk about what you think. Daryl Williams played 43% of snaps. He had five targets for Daryl Williams, which is what you kind of worry about with his defense being so bad. Could Daryl Williams get scripted out of games while Clyde's out in favor of a guy like Jerick McKinnon? But 5 targets for Daryl Williams makes you think that even if they are in a bad script with that bad defense, he's not just going to be the plotter who takes over the running back responsibilities when they're ahead and trying to ice off games. Daryl Williams could be used in the receiving game.
Yeah, I think he could be used in the receiving game. I do think, though, that Jerick McKinnon, I don't know, he reminds me more of a Clyde Edwards-Helaire than a Daryl Williams.
What? Just a shitty back? I don't know.
I got that for all intents and purposes. Looks like a not as good of a back, but Jerick McKinnon in fits and stops has been a good running back in the NFL. He's been very efficient.
Do you remember whenever the 49ers made him the 4th highest paid running back in the entire National Football League? That was only like 2.5 years ago or something. It's crazy. So Daryl Williams, I think definitely a higher priority than Jerick McKinnon. Jerick McKinnon feels more of the deep league or the 14-team league kind of ad. But, I mean, worth bringing up for sure. How long do you think it's going to be with Clyde? I mean, there were some of these. It's funny how there's become this industry of football injury experts online on Twitter that are all trying to be kind of like Dr. David Chow. And they were all freaking out about how bad this injury looked. And I saw Dr. David Chow tweet out that he was going to be on Sirius on the evening drive on Sunday night. These guys are talking about how they're worried it could be, season ending for for Clyde, and they ask Dr. Chow live on Sirius about it, and he's like, "Oh no, it's an MCL. He's going to be out. I don't expect him to really miss much time at all." And sure enough, Dr. Chow's he's just magic. How he's always right just by watching the videos. I guess that's what 17 years on the sideline, just seeing this stuff will get you. But I mean, so he said at the very beginning he was hesitant to even call this something that was going to be extended injury. Now we have Adam Schefter coming out that says his sources are saying probably a few weeks maybe, but they dodged the real big bullets. So when you're going after a Daryl Williams, just kind of keep in mind that it's not going to be like the long-term thing that you might have thought it was whenever you're thinking about waivers on Sunday night and that injury did occur.
Yeah, I feel like for this week, at least, Daryl Williams is going to be the premier pickup, and especially over Jerick McKinnon. But I think maybe as Jerick McKinnon starts to work into this offense, we start to see more of a timeshare.
Daryl Williams will be at Washington as 6.5-point favorites in the number 8 matchup for opposing running backs on the RosterWatch Week 6 matchup tool. I think that the top pickup is Devontae Booker. I think that Saquon Barkley might be out longer than Clyde Edwards-Helaire, just because you saw his ballooned up ankle. It was just so gross. And, he was already kind of coming back from the knee injury, and they were already kind of easing him in. I'm worried this is going to be something where they ease him back again. Who do the Giants have this week? The Giants matchup, not quite as good. They're at home, and they're playing the Rams. But the Rams have not been that great of a defense like we always talk about on the radio show. You have Aaron Donald and you have Jalen Ramsey, and you just kind of.
But they've been playing against, I guess, better teams, though. I feel like the Giants aren't. And the reason why
but Trashman, you have to remember the matchup tool schedule adjusts all this stuff.
No, I get that. And it more leans toward why I liked Williams over Booker. I think KC has a better offense, and so I'm generally going to lean towards a player who's going to be on the better offense.
But that player on the better offense turns right back into a pumpkin and a backup in in a couple of weeks. What if you get one guy that's going to be the starter, the lead back for a few weeks? Plus it's only an Elijah Penny that Booker has to deal with, as opposed to a Jerick McKinnon that Daryl Williams has to deal with. So I think it's probably pretty even. All right, so we have some questions. What's up, Kip C? What's up, Brad Montgomery? Isaac Rivas. He's asking about Brad Montgomery's asking about Ramondre Stevenson in a 12-man. It's probably good to bring him up. I guess we can talk about him right now as long as we're talking about running backs. I hate Ramondre Stevenson. I think he's no good. With that said, I mean, they've tried to put off playing him and put off playing him and put off playing him. They've reached into every bucket that they have, trying to find ways not to play Ramondre Stevenson. And now Damian Harris is hurt, and JJ Taylor, it was like the Eminem mom's spaghetti all over his sweater moment whenever he got his big shot and fumbled immediately. I mean, Ramondre Stevenson's going to play now. We saw number 38 out there versus the Texans. He looked plodding and slow like a slug, but he was playing. And he can catch. If Damian Harris is out, I mean, do
you think Damian Harris is going to be out? It seems, of the players who are day to day this week, he seems like one that's leaning towards playing. Yeah,
he could be, but he also fumbled on the goal line, doing something that Bill Belichick says to never do, which is to extend the ball for the touchdown. I don't know. That's an interesting thing that Belichick says, right? If you extend the ball for the touchdown and you get it knocked out, you get no love from me for going all out to try and do one for the team.
I don't really buy into the Belichick mystique anymore. That there's no Tom Brady. It's starting to fade. So what he says, I know he's buying the greatest coach of all time. He's buying into his own mythology. He coached the greatest quarterback of all time.
All right, so you guys are asking about some of these secondary backs to drop. I will add those names onto the list. Kip C. Isaac Rivas is asking, team name Texas Boys, asking about A.J. Brown. Not necessarily a waiver question, but I guess we can answer it. I mean, I'm trying to buy A.J. Brown. He was on a snap count this last week. I'm going to keep saying it, man. I'm going to keep trying to buy A.J. Brown. It's just, I mean, he's a complete alpha. They love him. He's gonna bounce back if you can get him on the cheap right now. I'm trying to get him on the cheap. I think I've actually tossed out a trade earlier this morning, trying to basically trade away Josh Jacobs straight up for AJ Brown, and I hope that trade gets accepted. Okay, let's see, Trash Man. So Ramondre Stevenson, you're not taking the cheese with this idiot.
I mean, what's the cheese? It's gonna be a third of the cheese. Nope. You know, I mean, it's just like JJ. Who's to say he won't get involved now? If everybody starts fumbling, then everybody's on an equal plane again.
Yeah, that's just true. And everybody has had egregious fumbles. I mean, remember in the game where Ramondre Stevenson was actually active, he fumbled on his first touch as an NFL player. So it's like it isn't like any of these guys have, you know. I mean, they can't all be in the doghouse. It's true. They can't all be. And they can't keep rolling out Brandon Bolden. Anybody who's it's just,
can they?
Dude, he is a special teams player. Like I tweeted out, playing Brandon Bolden at running back is like playing fucking Matthew Slater at wide receiver. It's just like there's no reason to be doing it. Khalil Herbert, he's an interesting case this week. And, you know, he was a pickup that we talked about last week, Trash Man. I think that when I look at the snap counts, targets, and touches tool here, what's amazing to me.
They had almost the same amount of touches.
Yeah, 18 touches each. Now, Damian Williams did have the 3 targets, but Khalil Herbert, 53% of snaps. Khalil Herbert led the backfield. The only question is, how big do you want to go on a committee running back that's only going to be in this role as long as David Montgomery's out and who's playing in the most puny and shitty of offenses?
I mean, how good do you feel about the Green Bay defense?
That's a good question. I mean, that's a good question. What is that matchup this week? So the Bears have the Green Bay. So the number 6. It's a middling matchup for opposing runners on the matchup tool.
I feel like, I mean, they still have, I mean, it's going to be Justin Fields most likely, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they're going to lean on that run game. And I mean, I feel better about Herbert than I do maybe an Allen Robinson or Donald Mooney in this game.
Because they're saying with Justin Fields, you know, he's sore, he got banged up, but he came back in that game. Dalton came into the game for a little while. Remember, it was just for one or two. It was just for maybe even one player. Maybe they took a timeout. I forgot if Dalton even took that snap. But Fields was able to come back.
I think he did.
Yeah, but Fields was back in almost immediately. Like before you could blink. Like when I looked back to that TV or to that monitor, Fields was already back in. So it was like in and out. So yeah, I think he's good to go. And Nagy said he's the starter moving forward. So we'll see about that. I guess we do have bye weeks right now. We didn't mention it. Who is this? We got New Orleans on bye, the Jets on bye, the Falcons are on bye, and is it the Steelers on? Was it the Steelers on bye?
No, it's not the Steelers. They play the Seahawks.
Oh, who was it? This is gonna drive me nuts. Sometimes Trash Man, I need to just look things up and not just depend on the back of the old memory. So one of these days my memory's gonna go out. Okay, so it's the 49ers is the other one. And I'm not gonna have the internet to be able to bail me out of this stuff. What are you gonna do then, Trash Man?
I don't know. If the internet goes out, then
yeah, I think we're all in trouble.
Yeah.
We're all in trouble. At least I've acquired skills that involve how to kill and cook my own food. Other than that,
I have friends who can do all those things. So.
Yeah, that's very, very true. And you've developed some great skills about acquiring free shit from friends. So, okay. Speaking of acquiring free shit, back to waivers. Kenny Gainwell still at the top here, even though he hasn't. It wasn't like he came in and just immediately took over for Miles Sanders or anything like that. But I mean, Kenny Gainwell still needs to be rostered, and as long as he's under 55% rostered in these leagues, I'm assuming that's the reason why you have him in the slating that you do, is just because he probably needs to be owned.
He needs to be owned.
Okay. Any of these lower tier guys you wanted to talk about? I mean, Chris Evans stuff or Alex Collins or any of this, I mean, I guess they can just come to the website.
I mean, with Samaje Perine going to the COVID-19 list, Chris Evans could see some run this week if Joe Mixon has a setback this week. So that's something to monitor.
Not that I give a shit about anybody's vaccination status, but like I wish just for fantasy I could know which of these guys are vaccinated, so I could know is Samaje Perine, does he have to be out? Is it one of these things where he just had a positive test and now if he's vaccinated, you just need the 2 negative tests, right? Within 48 hours. So if that would be good information. It would kind of be good information to know about picking up Chris Evans as far as the likelihood of Samaje Perine being able to go this week. But that's a good point, Trash Man. So I'm glad that you shipped on there. Anything else you wanted to talk about before we move over to wide receiver?
Just that David Johnson is starting to get more action in that Texans offense. He's somebody to monitor. Okay, for sure.
I have something to say from our friends at Jock Market. It's time to check out Jock Market, the app where daily fantasy becomes a stock exchange. Buy and sell shares of players in real time for real money. At the end of the night, all shares have a guaranteed payout based on fantasy point scoring. You can buy and hold, you can wheel and deal, you can even short shares of players you feel are undervalued. Download now for 100% deposit match up to $50 using promo code RosterWatch. It's not about setting a whole lineup, just trade shares of players you like. Trade in markets for NFL, NBA, NHL, PGA, and MLB. And get this, if you don't turn a profit in your first contest, Jock Market will cover your losses up to $100. So you have nothing to lose. Trade in the stock market where you understand the assets. Download Jock Market in the app or Play stores. And remember, that's Jock MKT in those app and Play stores and jockmkt.com. And make sure to use the promo code RosterWatch so they know that we sent you. They can give us credit for sending you, and you get a 100% deposit match up to $50 on your first deposit. That's jockmkt.com, jockmkt.com. Terms and conditions apply. All right, let's move to wide receivers. And another reminder to you guys, thanks for watching live on YouTube. I see a couple of you guys have put some names into the chat about players that are possible drops. We'll answer your questions about those drops at the end of the show if you continue to put them in. Trash Man at the very top, we have the man of the man of the ultimate Week 5 experience for sure, Kadarius Toney, in the absence of Sterling Shepard and Kenny Gall, or not Sterling Shepard and
Darius
Slayton, gave us the full Kadarius Toney experience. 10 catches for 196 yards. Daniel Jones goes out with a concussion on a cart. Kadarius Toney makes sure to go up to him and give him a nice headbutt on his way out. It's a sign of encouragement. Then Kadarius Toney goes to the sidelines. He gets tilted because he gets his ankle a little bit banged up. He goes to the sidelines, accidentally headbutts the shit out of some staffer just on the sidelines because he jumps up out of his seat and then comes back into the game, throws a punch, gets ejected, and then after the game, cops a ride to the locker room with some dude claiming that he can't walk back because of something with his ankle, and they hope it's nothing that'll be an equal sort of extended absence. So I see him at the very top of pickups. Of course he should be, but I mean, Kadarius. It was the Kadarius Toney experience, man. It was fantastic.
You got to get your popcorn out. I mean, if nothing else, we've seen that Toney could arguably be their best weapon.
You can't put that genie back in the bottle. I mean, you can't put the genie back in the bottle with Kadarius Toney. I was thinking, I'm like, well, it's just like, what's going to happen when Sterling Shepard and Terry Slayton get back? Then I thought to myself, who gives a shit? Right? It's just like, you just saw what this dude could do. He's a maniacal, he's a Tasmanian devil out there, but he's fun as hell to watch. I mean, he gets wide open, and he's got, we saw it at the Senior Bowl. Like, there were these idiotic concentration drops, and you're just like, what is wrong with this dude? Why can't he get his act together? But boy, when he's on and he can get the football in his hands, the way his burst up field is just, it's otherworldly. It really is. And I know the Cowboys secondary is not that, outside of Trayvon, they're not that good. But I think even with the concerns of the possible right ankle thing, we don't know that much about it. But I think even still, he definitely needs to be picked up in these leagues, and you're excited to have him. I would just say, keep in mind that there is that small thing lurking. He did have somebody have him taken back on the cart back to the locker room. I mean, he kind of just might have wanted a ride. They said he was pointing at his right ankle and trying to tell the guy something. Okay. Who else? Rondale, of course. Rondale back in our lives. If you dropped him, pick him back up, right?
Yeah, hopefully you didn't drop him. I mean, the thing with this Arizona offense, you're going to get some off weeks with some of the players. That's just the nature of this offense. There are just a lot of playmakers. But Rondale Moore, like Kadarius Toney, is one of the more electric playmakers on that Arizona offense, and you should keep him on your roster.
This is not an exciting week on waivers, Trash Man. I mean, whenever we're looking at the top guys that are Kadarius, he really is, despite any uncertainty, he really is the headliner here. Tim Patrick, if he's still available, probably needs to be picked up.
I mean, you need to get your eye back on T.Y. Hilton.
Yeah. Really?
You that interested? Think so?
I guess. I mean, I think more than anything, it's more about you need to have your eyes on selling Michael Pittman. Make sure and tune into the Trade Cast on the RosterWatch podcast feed when it comes out tomorrow. I'll bet you that Byron talks about Pittman and how to handle him. I think it's probably about time to sell on that guy.
Yeah. Then also maybe Rashad Bateman. It'll be interesting to see what he does. Once he really gets up to speed in that offense.
Okay. And no one else to touch on as far as these guys. What about your boy Josh Gordon? Did you just love seeing the anaconda crawl up the ladder to make a contested catch versus the Ravens? Versus the Bills.
I mean, the Bills is literally one target. So it's hard to really take anything away from that. But if you got space at the end of your bench, he's someone to have there.
What about tight ends? Your boy Zach Ertz, after all your touting last week, of course he fell on his face, just like I thought, Trash Man.
What do you mean? It fell on your face, but then Dallas Goedert, he's probably not going to play this week.
That's true.
And so you want Zach Ertz on your team. I mean, Zach Ertz still had 6 targets on Sunday. It was just, it just didn't work out for him. He's averaging 7 targets over his last 3 games. And I think especially in this week where he goes up against Tampa Bay, who, if they give it up anywhere to any position, it's at the tight end position.
Is that true? I gotta look. Let me look at the matchup tool. Hold on. I'm not sure that's entirely true. So Tampa Bay, Philly, Tampa Bay. They give it up to the wide receiver and the tight end. It's the number 2 matchup for opposing wide receivers, the number 9 matchup for opposing tight ends. So yeah, I could definitely see it. He'll have another old tight end across on the sidelines across from him watching the game, and Rob Gronkowski. He might want to might want to show off as a fellow old man tight end. He's probably a little bit too old to be. The
fact of the matter is he's been a better tight end for the Eagles than Dallas Goedert has for the past 3 games, and Dallas Goedert's not going to be there this week.
Are we sure the Goddard's out? We'll just keep an eye on it, but that's something that's part of your thesis for having Zach Ertz with given his positioning where it is. That's part of the thesis.
Well, Goddard's on he's on the COVID-19 list. So again, it's one of those things.
I wish somebody would keep a list of who's vaccinated. Like I said, I don't give a shit about your vaccination status, but for fantasy, it could help with these goddamn pickups, because if they're not, they're almost certainly not going to play. If they are, they're almost certainly going to, they're probably going to play. So, interesting there. All right. Anything you want to talk about at wide receiver or defense before we get to some of these? Before we get to the final part about the drops, we have some submissions here in the comments.
David Njoku is an interesting tight end after this last game where he exploded. He's one of these players who we've seen 2 really incredible games and 2 really lackluster games. I'm not really sure what to do with him, but he probably belongs on rosters, and makes for a decent streamer. And plus matchups, at least compared to a lot of other tight ends, it's such a weak position. If you have upside like Njoku, it's probably good to have him on your roster.
Hey, all right, Trashman. I'm gonna look here and make sure I have. If you guys have names that you're interested in, let us know. But I think I got them all here. So let's talk about players before we get out of here. Let's see if you can drop these guys. All right, are you ready, Trash Man? Can you drop these guys for the hot waiver wire pickups of week 6?
Let's do it.
Trey Sermon, can you drop him?
No.
He didn't play a lick. They hate him. As long as Elijah Mitchell's healthy, he's not going to play.
Is Elijah Mitchell healthy?
Yeah, I mean, he played. Didn't you watch the game? I mean, he played. He played. Looked like he looked good to me. Elijah Mitchell played 68% of snaps. He had 11 touches, 2 targets, 62 total yards. Trey Sermon played 3% of snaps. He got 1 touch for 7 yards.
Well, I guess they hate him.
Yeah.
I guess they hate him.
And Jeff, dude, and
it's
Jeff
hard
Wilson,
though with that.
And Jeff Wilson's lurking, Trash Man. He's going to need to be here on the cheat sheet pretty soon. It's going to be November, so I think I wasn't going to say this week, but maybe next week we need to put Jeff Wilson on here. Yeah,
I mean the thing is with Elijah, it's just like the San Francisco backfield is such a tenuous situation. It's if you have to drop Sermon, you can.
Yeah. Okay. Zach Pascal. Can you drop him?
Yeah.
He hadn't been doing that much. I just had to check his game log because somebody asked him, like, what has he been doing something that I wasn't aware of?
He's got a decent floor in PPR format.
So can you drop him?
Yeah.
Brian Edwards.
Yes.
What about Larry Roundtree?
Yeah.
I think I was wrong last week when you started talking about this Joshua Kelly stuff. I said, "Nah, man, he's Roundtree's backup." That doesn't look like it's true. Yeah, I think you can drop Roundtree for sure, brother. All right, only a few more. How about KJ Osborne? Kind of hot week 1 waiver wire pickup. He hasn't really done much of anything.
I think he tied for 3rd most targets this week for the Vikings, but D.D. Westbrook got in the game too. Same amount of targets for Westbrook and Osborne. I think with Conklin there in that mix too, Osborne he's droppable.
Somebody's asking, Nuke in the chat is asking, any good ideas for an RB2 this week for full PPR? I mean, what, like off the waiver wire? No, not for a guy you can count on as an RB2. If you need to count on Devontae Booker or Daryl Williams, like I think both those guys.
Khalil Herbert has that kind of upside, I think.
Yeah, so maybe those 3. Go check out the waiver wire cheat sheet at RosterWatch.com, and you can see the kind of. I mean, I wouldn't love to have one of those guys as my RB2, but I mean, shit, you got to do what you got to do. If you had to play Myles Gaskin last week, you ended up. Jesus. Hey, what about this?
26 points on my bench.
Kip C asks about Kenyan Drake.
You can drop him
for one of these dudes.
I think so.
I think I would drop Kenyan Drake for Daryl Williams if I couldn't drop a backup quarterback or backup tight end. I think I would. Okay, a couple rookies here, or no? What? Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, you can drop him. Hunter Henry is the preferred option in the passing game there for the Patriots.
Kip C asks about how about some of the IR guys if you don't have an IR slot, like Will Fuller or Jarvis Landry. I actually, just before this week kicked off, I picked up Jarvis. So I'm interested in him. I also dropped Will Fuller. I'm not interested in. I've seen enough of Jalen Waddle to be like, man, I think that this thing's gonna get split around enough, and this is Jacoby Brissett or Tua. Like either way, I just kind of wanted to rinse my hands of the Will Fuller stuff. But I do think with Jarvis, I think the Browns are a good team. I think whenever he comes back, I don't care what anybody says, man. Any time that he's out on the field with Odell Beckham and they're healthy, even dating back to college, it's kind of Jarvis that's been the alpha. So as weird as that sounds, it's kind of true if you just look at the pure numbers. So I think with Landry, I would hold on because he might be back. What is it? Is he eligible this week or is it the week after? It's either this week or the week after that he's at least eligible. So I think that's how I would do it. How about,
they're not sure he'll come off IR this week, but I think he's eligible to.
I think Jarvis is a fine pickup if he's available, and I think he's a good hold if you've held him this long. Okay, Elijah Moore.
You can drop him.
It hurts, doesn't it? But I think you can.
Yeah.
Terrace Marshall.
He can be dropped. I mean, it's all potential for Marshall, but it seems like Robbie Anderson's starting to actually come on in that offense. So
yeah. And then this is the one where I just had to do a double take and say, like, are you kidding? But somebody really asks about this. Let me see if I can pull up his game log just so I can tell you what this player has done so far this season, Trash Man. Let's see. Always so very organized around here at the RosterWatch Radio Performance. Okay, so here I'm going to read you this player's game log. And you tell me if you think this is a player worth keeping. So far this season, he has one game of 0.6 fantasy points, one game of 10.5 fantasy points, one game of 1.5 fantasy points. Oh wait, I have that in standard. Let me go to half PPR. Okay, so in half PPR, this player has you 1.1 fantasy points, 12.5 fantasy points, 2 fantasy points, and 4.2 fantasy points. His name is Brandon Ayuk. Is he droppable?
Yes.